All right, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And yes, we will be getting to JRC here in a moment. First, the disclaimers and the trigger warnings. If you hear anything in the background from my TV, because I'm playing the Silver Dollar City podcast in the background there, I apologize in advance, but I have still not been able to figure out how to use the noise canceling part of these headphones. And if I don't have like at least some kind of white noise, especially something that's as comforting as that, I go a little bit stir crazy. So apologies for that in advance. Alright, if you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shots campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are going to be there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the link we have in there for Autistic Hoya's massive archive, where is literally all of our receipts in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, going all the way back to the 70s when they were banned and kicked out of the state of California due to horrendous abuse that cost one of their earliest students' lives. We also have a link in there to a neuroplastics article where they surveyed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC so-called behavior modification program. It's the same one that, of course, JRC threatened them with a defamation lawsuit over if they did not remove that particular article from their own website. Neuroplastic obviously refused, so please read it and share it on all your social media. As always, we also have the GoFundMe that was put together for them linked up in there as well, in case the JRC ever sees through with their threat, because unlike them, we do not, unfortunately, have access to unlimited funds and money. More is the pity. Alright. Okay, trigger warnings. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people's mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to utilize the headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervision is advised. Alright, we're going to try to make it quick. My mom was supposed to run by today, and it's also been like torrential downpour, so we'll try to make it as quick as humanly possible. Where we left off yesterday. The proposed ban meets all of the above criteria. It is quite clearly a proceeding that is in form, is couched as a rulemaking, general in scope and perspective in operation, but in substance and effect is individual in impact and commentary and purpose. No, it isn't, JRC. You want to know why it isn't? Because we've already had this discussion. There was already a hearing. And not just any type of hearing, but a hearing that went on for 6 years. Have you ever heard of a hearing in your entire lifetime that has lasted 6 years? No. It's not that common of an occurrence. You had your hearing. You were unable to make your case. And that's all there is to it. And the only people who are discriminating against anyone is you. Everybody else is trying to protect those kids from you. And you sitting there and demanding that that is the only thing that works. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat it. it doesn't make it true because the numbers don't back it up. Yes, there is a subpopulation that is a bit more resistant to the regular treatment programs out there. Yes, this is a fact. However, the lie is that there is no other way than putting them in a human shock collar. No, JRC. These are the type of situations where you go back to the drawing board. You pull out the full functional behavioral assessment when things you know are actually done in their proper order and completed properly. And then you do a more customized program in regards to that particular individual. Because maybe if you're just doing positive behavioral reinforcement, but it's not getting all of the results needed. But if you look at another different type of program under the positive behavioral supports umbrella, and it has something to address that area that was causing major scary behaviors, then you take that and you bring it there. And if there's an issue with extreme sensory and what's being tried as a part of a program is not working, but you look at another program and it looks like what they are doing might be working, after you discuss it with the actual consumer, then you bring that in. One of the biggest things that you do that the JRC insists is absolutely impossible is when going through this process, you're not just communicating with the parents, with the teachers, but you're communicating with the consumer. That is number one. Number one, if you do not keep a steady, open line of communication between those who are a part of the overall treatment program and the actual consumer, then nothing is ever going to work, no matter how highly rated it is, no matter how many awards said program or school has. And as far as, but they're nonverbal, they can't tell you what's wrong, horseshit. Horseshit. It's a cop-out, and I'm tired of it. I know dealing with us can be exhausting. I exhaust myself on a semi-regular basis. Believe it or not, I do actually get it. I'm a pragmatist after all. I know where my shortfalls are, and I know how much those shortfalls test the patience, the resolve, the endurance, and the individuals around me. Okay? But just because an individual is nonverbal does not mean that they are unable to communicate. Nor should they have to jump through all the hoops constantly all the time to force themselves to communicate in the way that you prefer in order for you to consider that communication to be valid. It's always us. It's always on us. 100% all the time. No one meets us halfway. Nobody meets us halfway unless we are dealing with a provider that actually knows what they're doing. Thankfully, in spite of living in a GOP hellscape, the providers through Burl and through ARC know what they're doing. And I've worked with them both, not just through my own treatment program, but for the individuals I advocated for while working for the Missouri Department of Mental Health. To open up that communication, there are electronic communication devices that can be used. I'm not telling you that by using those devices they're going to be starting to perform Shakespearean soliloquies, but they will be able to communicate and interact with you in regards to what's going on right before those behaviors get triggered. Because that's the vital information that you are missing. That is the information that you need in order to best be able to combat the more dangerous behaviors. No human shock collar should ever be necessary under any circumstances. I will not budge from that. And the fact is, there are millions of autistics and other neurodivergents and people with mental health issues all over the world. A small chunk of them from all over the world are going to be more resistant to the more mainstream different types of treatment programs out there. I'm well aware of this, and I have helped assist those individuals along with their doctors, their caseworkers, the social workers, the providers, whatever programs they were a part of, so that they would be able to communicate that, so that they do have the ability to create a more customized overall program that may take bits and pieces from different programs that are working and add some things in with that new information of what's happening in our heads right before we're triggered into those behaviors. And wouldn't you know it, it works. And JRC, would you like to know how I know that doing things that way, or as I like to call it, the correct way, works? Because none of these other individuals from all over the world are looking to blow your door down to get their kids into your complete psycho center. That's how I know. Okay? Let me go ahead and continue. I'm going to read one more sentence here. We're going to, remember, keep it relatively brief. Throughout the text of the proposed ban, the FDA repeatedly makes factual judgments and findings specifically concerning the medical care and treatment of a small subset of patients at just one institution, JRC. The ban would immediately affect only 55 persons. I wouldn't care if it was one person, JRC. It doesn't matter how small the group is that you put on human shock collars. You want to know the individuals who think that way? What they're called? Monsters. There shouldn't be one student on that device. But it would only affect them. Yeah, for the better. But then it will go out of control. Yeah, you see, that's what things that happen when you treat a human being like an animal for too long. Eventually, we'll become the animal. That is not their fault, that's yours. They're only becoming the monsters that you made them into being. And you have no one to blame but yourselves. So, yes, it will get worse before it gets better. That's a common thing whether you are neurodivergent and a survivor of abuse, or if you're neurotypical and a survivor of abuse. You get out of the situation, and all that pent up crap you've kept hiding from the world to try at least to keep yourself safe and left the hell alone, you're going to act out. In fact, this is something that is widely accepted out in the world, at least in regards to neurotypical survivors. But we're not allowed to have those same reactions to the exact same types of behaviors that others have had against us. Because we've got a label. Does that make any coherent sense to anyone in the peanut gallery? No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter how many people you have on that device, JRC. That is still 55 people you are still torturing with the device. Please stop with that argument. It just makes you even more monstrous. And the fact that you say, but these kids are so vulnerable, it's such a small group, and it's just, you understand how that's worse, right? You understand the fact that you are picking the most vulnerable in the entire student population at the JRC. That you pick specifically those individuals who may be nonverbal or have other types of communication issues, and you single them out for that human shock collar. You do understand how that's worse, right? Alright, we're going to continue. This group is itself part of a very small cohort of persons with SIB or AB so serious that they are resistant to every other possible therapy. We have proven multiple times that that is a lie, JRC. Meanwhile, you have never answered any of the challenges brought up to you from any of us in regards to this thing you keep reasserting. Those challenges being, why, before you even discussed bringing those kids into your school, did you not automatically demand that a proper, full functional behavioral assessment conducted by an objective professional that has absolutely no ties up to your school to be conducted first before putting them in for admission to the JRC, so that we can find out whether your school would actually be the best fit for the child or not? Why have you never done that? We've had enough parents come forward and say that they didn't even know what a full functional behavioral assessment was until after their children had already been removed from your hellhole. Why have you never answered that question? You can't scream that nothing else works when you leave out one of the most important steps in determining the best types of overall treatment programs for these kids. Really think that's going in well? Why have you never answered that question? Number 2, you have said your own words in your own documentation. I'm not inventing anything. I'm not taking anything out of context here. Documentation right there on Autistic Hoya's massive archive, where you all have stated previously that you didn't even know what positive behavioral reinforcement was, to the point that you actually called it a theory instead of the treatment program that it actually is, and that it had no data to show that it could be successful for individuals like what you have at your school, when, as a matter of fact, even back in 2006, there was at least over a decade's worth of data regards to success rates for the positive behavioral reinforcement treatment programs. But I'm supposed to believe that these kids have already tried everything else. You can't even define one of the other major treatment programs out there, one of the biggest used by the rest of the medical model. You can't even define it properly, let alone know how long it's been out there. You didn't even know that the data existed in regards to the success rates of that overall program. You called it a theory with no data in 2006, when it already had been in practice in all 50 states for over 10 years. But we're supposed to believe that everything else has been tried and they were resistant to everything? Why won't you answer these questions, JRC? Why do you keep pounding your chest and repeating your garbage, but never answering these challenges? Don't worry, I'll wait. Now on that, folks, we're going to go ahead and close out for today. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to utilize the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do hope you have a good one. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.